I'm getting better. So today I'm playing Wind Waker HD. Because as you know, the best way to practice for this game isn't learning how to sail a ship or even defeat enemies. It's learning how to throw the mail. I'm actually a little worried about playing this. I've heard it's just an HD port, but we won't know until we try it. So let's go into the backstory. Wind Waker. Has it really been over 10 years? There's not much to go on here, but Wind Waker was released on the Nintendo GameCube back in 2002. Wind Waker left a lot of people worried at the time before it came out, considering that the art style was completely different from what people were accustomed to previously. Despite the initial concerns, however, Wind Waker was a huge hit when it released. Despite how different it was, it still held the same concept of a Zelda game. A huge world for you to explore, and so much for you to do. And this game was no exception. Besides fighting enemies, you could go look for buried treasure, help sort the mail, enjoy the view on top of a cliff, jump off the cliff with a leaf, shock everybody with your unstoppable bidding power, get a tan in the rain, then spend the rest of your young life trying to figure out those stupid puzzles. Enjoy all the figurines you have, take your pet pig out for a walk and then throw him off a cliff, and so much more. There's a reason why this game was so commercially successful, so it came as a bit of a surprise when the game was going to be re-released on the Wii U in 2013. Despite the game looking gorgeous in HD, there is a bit of speculation as to whether or not this is just an HD port. So I'm gonna go find out. Considering that this isn't a technically new game, instead of focusing on this game as if it's new, I'm gonna go see what differences there are from the original. I'm gonna be looking for differences in the gameplay, differences in the soundtrack, differences in the item menus, and I'm gonna be looking for some new features. So even though Wind Waker came out quite a while ago, there will be spoilers in this video. So if you don't like to be spoiled, you might want to leave now. So the game is loaded up and ready. So let's go play Wind Waker HD. Wow. It looks amazing, what can I say? It just looks so beautiful. It's just like I remember it, but it's just so colorful. Ten out of 10. Greatest game ever. Greatest game ever. I'm just kidding. I would never do that to a game and automatically rate it 10 out of 10 for good graphics. Unless it was a game about me. I'll start off by saying the obvious. The HD graphics in this game are amazing. I can't find the right words to explain how incredible everything looks now. Wind Waker on its own had good graphics, a good mixture of lighting and cel shading. But let me put it this way, Wind Waker HD does it better. Everything in this game looks a lot more vibrant than it was previously. It's strange because I bought this game over 10 years ago and it feels as if it's still brand new to me. And I'm sure it's because the graphics in this game are 10 times better than they were before. Especially in the sailing portions. The water in this game is given a lot more life than it was previously, and it definitely works. Okay, I'm gonna stop monologuing and get back to the review. So let's look for any differences in the gameplay. The gameplay is about the same as it was in the previous Wind Waker. Combat is still pretty fluid, and the puzzles are as about original as they were before. The bosses are fun as well. Granted, they are a bit easy and usually have some pretty obvious weak points, but that doesn't stop you from having fun with them. Contrary to the gameplay, there are still a lot of heart-racing moments in this game. This is it. The moment I've been training for. Perfect. Now with that little distraction out of the way, let's focus on the game's soundtrack. The HD version didn't really change much of the songs from the original Wind Waker. They did remaster a few of them though, so they sound a lot more clean. so the soundtrack is still memorable and relatively unchanged. Now let's see if there's any differences in the items and the menu screens that accompany them. The items in this game have relatively been unchanged, with the exception of one new item, which I will go over a little bit later. And no longer do you have to pause the game to switch out items. Granted, that system wasn't a hard thing, but it was just tedious at times. This game seems to fix that. I'm still early in the game, but this is how it works throughout the entire game. You don't have to pause the game to move items around, though you can still do that if you want to feel safe. If you need to quickly change something though, it's as simple as taking the item you wish to have to either the Y, X, or R button and dragging them there. Simple as that. But as I just said, there's not a lot of changes to the items. But having the ability to switch items at will makes the game go by a lot quicker, no more unnecessary pausing. This becomes especially helpful in the later dungeons like the Earth Temple and the Wind Temple, which both dungeons require you to switch out items quite a lot. Granted, it also shortens down the dungeon's length. It lowers the length from about 3 to 4 hours approximately with all the item switching by pausing to about 2 hours by doing it on the go. And again, that could be said about every dungeon in the game. But it is not a hindrance in any way, more like an advantage. That is all the main differences I can see with Wind Waker HD. Now let's go see if there's anything new added to it. Anyway, there are quite a few new things they added to Wind Waker HD, so I'm gonna go over to the sailing first. Sailing in this game has also been improved upon slightly. Granted, you still have to sail around to get to different islands. From now on, whenever you get onto the back of the King of Red Lions, the sail option is automatically there for you. No longer do you need to go into the pause menu, equip the sail in one of your inventory slots and sail with it. You can just get in and go. There are a few other things they improved upon sailing as well. Gathering treasure chests is a lot quicker than it was before. You can switch between the sail, hook, and bomb with a touch of a button. It should be noted that there is also a sail you can buy from the auction house. One that will make you go twice as fast as you were before, and automatically changes the direction and the way you go, making the Wind Waker feel a little useless. Another feature I like to point out is the use of the Tingle Bottle. Remember the Tingle Tuner? You know, the item that Tingle gives you that looks like a version of him on a Game Boy Advanced? The one that seemed like a unique idea but didn't really live up to standards? Well, you don't have that anymore. That idea is gone altogether with the use of the Tingle Bottle. Tingle Bottles serve an interesting feature. Tingle Bottles correspond and work with Miiverse on the Wii U. You can send some bottles out into sea, which will be picked up by some players. Sort of like a message in a bottle, if you will. And during your game, you will find some floating in the ocean for you to pick up. When you pick up their Tingle Bottle in your world, you get to see the message that they wrote out, as well as any pictures if they included any. Oh, and this is a bit silly, but this is probably one of my favorite new features. You get to take selfies. Other new changes are the ability to give the figurine man multiple pictures. You can also counterattack a few more enemies in the game, and my personal favorite, the Triforce hunt at the end of the game has been shortened considerably. There are less Triforce charts to find, meaning you can get some of the pieces right off the bat, so you don't have to pay a certain Green Khan all your rupees. Though he still charges 398 rupees. So overall, there are a couple new changes added to the game. Nothing too game-changing, but they are a nice touch. I really have nothing else to say right now, so enjoy this cutscene. Alright. I have to say it's a little strange playing the same game 12 years later, but I had a lot of fun doing this. So let's go review the game now, shall we? So, before we move on, let's answer that obvious question. Is Wind Waker HD just an HD port? Pretty much. But despite the fact that it's not too much of a new game, there is a lot to enjoy from this. I personally think it was a good idea to re-release Wind Waker, though the price tag seemed a little steep. Let's begin with the good things about Wind Waker HD. Again, I'm not going to focus on anything that was in the previous Wind Waker, rather what was changed and what has been improved upon. The gameplay and puzzles were not changed in any way, and that's not going to be a bad thing. However, the soundtrack has been improved upon, and it sounds really nice. The instruments have been updated, and it makes everything sound a lot more clean. And the HD graphics look stunning. They definitely bring a lot more life into the game than it did before. Some of the new technical features they put into the game are really nice too. I didn't mention this earlier, but the Wind Waker has been improved upon too. You might remember back in the original Wind Waker, whenever you played the song, Link would conduct to it. The issue with that was he would conduct every single time, and it would take more time than it really needed to. Well, not in Wind Waker HD. From now on, every time you play the song after the first time, it just goes on to tell you what you want to do. So if you want to change the wind and you already did it before, you could just tell which way you want to go. You don't need to see the conducting thing twice. Another thing could be the swift sail, which makes sailing in this game a lot more tolerable than it was previously. Overall, the new features they add for pacing and speed definitely help out. The new and updated item organization definitely helps too. No longer do you need to pause the game and move everything around. You can just drag it to where you need to go and you can keep on playing. This is also good because besides the items, you also have your map and tingle bottles to collect. Having them all right there on the Wii U gamepad definitely helps speed things along because you could just push it and you're right there. And unfortunately, there are also some bad things about Wind Waker HD. As much as I hate saying this, there really isn't anything new added to this game besides the HD graphics and upgraded system. You could say that everything I put here is a new thing, and I'd agree with you, but it doesn't really help change the game. It doesn't feel as if they changed anything about Wind Waker, more like just upgraded it. This might sound like a more personal issue, but the Wii U gamepad being used as a camera can get quite disorienting. What I mean is, every time you use an item that goes into first person, like the telescope or the hookshot, you can move the direction of which way you're facing with the Wii U gamepad. This can get quite frustrating when all you're trying to do is move it with the right control stick. And even if you budge it slightly to the left or the right, it ruins your aim. This has made several attempts with the hookshot and grappling hook seem futile. And this might also be a personal irk, but the ocean is still too barren. Granted, they still added in pirate hideouts and big octos and the like, but there just doesn't seem to be a lot to do when you're sailing around the ocean. Sure, you could spend time visiting islands and figuring out what they're about, but I want to see some sort of random events happen. Imagine if you were sailing throughout the ocean and all of a sudden 5 pirate ships come out of nowhere and attack you. Or imagine a giant submarine pops out and you have to fight it. It just sounds far-fetched, but I wanted a little more variety when I was sailing around. So in conclusion, Wind Waker HD is a very nice throwback to the original Wind Waker, with some new features added in that help keep the game fresh, while falling short to a lot of others. I did have fun playing the same game again, though I have to wonder if it was worth the price tag. I'm gonna be generous here. Wind Waker HD gets a 7 out of 10. I was going to give it a 6 because there's not much change to it. I want to give it a 9 out of 10 like I would the original Wind Waker, but there's just not a lot of aspect put into it. Like I said before, I'm not going to give the game 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 for good graphics alone, and that's a lot of what this game has for it. So look past the HD graphics and the minor differences, and the game is still Wind Waker at heart. If you enjoyed the original Wind Waker, this might be the game for you to pick up. If you like the original Wind Waker and want to see something different in it, then you might want to pass on this one. Nevertheless, it was good fun, a great trip down memory lane. So as you know, everybody has already chosen the last 2 games, meaning the next game is going to be a game of my choice. After that game, then I'll put 3 more games for you guys to choose from, so please stick around and I hope you enjoy the next video. It may sound selfish, but this is the pattern I wish to do it in. So once again, I'm Luigi, and this has been a Luigi review. Now, if you'll excuse me, now that my melee skills have been improved, I'm gonna go practice my swordplay, with very bad special effects. See you later.